Hey everybody, welcome to Tavern Talks. This is episode 155 tonight. Looks like I'll make sure we got some music in the background. There we go. For some reason the music was off for the moment. Anyway, it's 155 episodes and still Tech decides to fight me every single episode. It's great. But I do this for the people. I do this for everybody out there. I don't do this for myself because I swear if I did it for myself, I would have went crazy 20 years ago. Anyway, tonight, as usual, we have a new guest. And for those that are first joining us, the way this works is it is three guys sitting around in a bar. And that conversation starts with a few very simple questions, and where that goes, only the rabbit holes know. So we're going to dive where we can. Tonight, once again, we're going back to Shadow Dark, a newer system that is based out of OSR, and we're going to break down some of that information as well, and kind of what's cool about it and what could be utilized in your own game. So before we start, real quick, I'm going to change it up just a little bit. We're going to do our shout outs to the sponsors early. So, Chuck, give us our sponsors.
Oh shit. You put me on the spot. I don't like it. No. So if you put on the music, if you can hear the music, because I have my other volume turned down,
That's not wrong.
that's courtesy of Monument Studios and their Fantasy Plus app. It's been fantastic. We use it on pretty much every show we run, and the quality of the music, the sounds that come along with it is great. Can't speak highly enough of it. So if you want to try it out, go to Monument Studios. Go to their website, and you can use the code MISFIT, all one word, all caps, all that fun stuff, just in case it's cap sensitive. And you can get 30% off, or you get 3 months free. And for 5,000, 6,000 bits of music and sound, pretty well worth it. You want Math Rocks? Go check out our friends over at Canadian Dice. Again, use the code MISFIT15, MISFIT15. You get 15% off your order. That's shipping, really.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're just paying for the dice at that point. Shirts. You want shirts? Go check out our friend over at dungeongrandmaster.com, and you can get logos with both the Beaker Builds image and the Tabletop Misfits image.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Is that good enough? Did I do a good job?
It's awesome. Yeah, now when I clip this stuff, I can clip it after this instead of having to figure out the other part. So we're learning. I'm telling you, it's only taken us 3 years to do it, but we're learning.
6 months.
Yeah, see, he's the reason I'm learning. So, but yeah, so we're gonna start, and it's gonna be really easy. I'm gonna kind of let you give a quick just breakdown of who you are, what you do in the TTRPG space, and we'll start asking some questions and drinking and having some fun. So, James, kind of give us a breakdown of who you are and what you do in the space.
Yeah, cool. So I'm James. I'm the owner and designer at Lost Heretic Press, which is my small indie publishing imprint where I write and publish adventures mostly for Shadow Dark, sometimes for Morkborg. I run games at conventions, which is how I met you two. And I do a lot of just thinking about games. That's pretty much it.
Hey, I mean, I think that's most of us anymore. If you're anywhere in the industry in any way, shape, or form, you're always thinking about games. That's kind of what we do. So, the way I like to start this off is 3 questions. And it kind of helps just get us warmed up, kind of gives us an idea of your background, that kind of thing. So, when did your TTRPG journey start?
Ooh. It's 2025?
It is.
It's probably right around like 03.
Okay.
Give or take.
So very similar to mine.
Yeah, my family moved around a ton when I was a kid, and we moved back to like my hometown, met up with a whole bunch of my really good friends from like elementary school, and a couple of them were like, hey, there's this game called Dungeons and Dragons. It's like the 3.5 edition of it. Do you want to come try it out? And I was like, sure, sounds great. And then I had a horrible time, and I didn't go back to Dungeons and Dragons until 5th edition came out. But I did a lot of like bespoke play-by-post forum games that like my friends were running, and kind of been in it like that ever since.
Nice. So, what about Dungeons and Dragons did you not like?
So it wasn't that I didn't like Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh.
I'm confident that because like I play in a mostly bi-weekly Pathfinder 2e game right now. That one of my very good friends, and just to get this right out the way, right off the bat, I'm in a polyamorous marriage. My wife has a wife.
Okay.
Different strokes, different folks. But so my wife's wife runs a almost bi-weekly Pathfinder 2e game for us, which is pretty much the only time that I get to be a player in a game anymore. And I have a great time with that. And that's
Absolutely.
basically 3.5 but cleaned up. The problem was that one of the kids that I played with when I was 13 years old was a jerk.
Oh,
And
well,
soured the experience for me pretty wildly.
I think that's a good example of, you have to find a good you're a good game master, right? Like, because people can ruin the game for you. Like, it's not the game, it's the people sometimes.
There's what's the old adage that always comes up on the internet whenever people are like, oh, my game's all, I don't understand. So no D&D is better than bad D&D. Just step away if you have to.
Yep, step away if you have to. So what was the, I guess this is a better example on this end. What was the catalyst then to go back? What was what brought you back into it? What was kind of the excitement of trying it again?
Yeah, so again, same person. Started running a 5th edition game. This would have been like 11 years ago now. Right when I was starting to go to like a tech school for my day job. I'm a paramedic. I was just starting paramedic school. Which, if there's any paramedics in the audience, they know it is I think I'm allowed to curse on Twitch. It's a hellacious time in your life, and you desperately wish to be doing anything else. And so she started running a game that I started playing in, and I had a great time. And then I wrapped up school, and I was like, kind of now I'm like, oh, I work 2 24-hour shifts a week, and I don't know what to do with my hands the rest of the week. So I started writing like a setting that's just like a way to be busy, and then I started running that setting for my friends, and then 11 years later, now I have a company.
That's how it is. That's how it's done, folks. Start writing and don't stop, and sooner or later you have enough content to start your own company.
Yeah, after a decade. Yeah,
after a decade.
Usually about
yeah. But I mean, it tells you, to master at anything, it was like 10,000 hours. So, I mean, there, it takes a while.
That's a hokey number anyway. Don't believe the hype.
Yeah. So then, and you kind of explained it, but didn't at the same time, and we're going to hit that in a second, when did you go from being a player in the game to jumping behind the screen to a game master? And why?
Yeah. So I had this this city setting that I had written up, and like because like at the time I was dealing with like a bunch of like mental health stuff, and like just trying to like writing was something that I could do to keep myself occupied. I wrote like probably 100 pages worth of supplement for this city that I was making, and eventually I was like, hey, if I'm not going to do anything with this, why am I doing this? And so it's like, I was like, you know what? Why not? I got all my friends together. I was like, hey, we all have Saturday night free. Why don't we all just come together and I'll run like a quick one shot in this city? And we did. And then I was like, okay. And we were like, okay, so same time next week? It's kind of kept rolling from there, and that campaign went on for like 2 years, and then died off a little bit because we got to like that campaign had the problem that all 5th edition campaigns that I've ever tried to play in or run have had, which is we got to like 14th level, and I was like, I don't know what to do now, guys. you're gods. I don't know what to do now.
Yeah.
Uh, and I'm sitting there we had they were about to go up against one of the final villains, and I was like starting to write the stat block, and I was like, all right, for this thing to last more than a round, it needs to have 2,000 hit points, and I'm like, what am I doing?
I do.
And that started my shift away from the 5th edition ecosphere and towards a more old school rules light, low hit points style of gaming, where it's much easier to be challenging with 25 hit points if the players only have 7.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's definitely kind of what I've noticed as well. 5th edition, the power creep just went through the roof, especially after level 12. Like,
Oh,
after 12 hits, there's something about it. I don't know what it is, but there's something about it.
yeah, like I don't know how to put it any better than like I had a fantastic time running 5th edition for my friends. I'm not going to pretend that I didn't. 5th edition was a wonderful system for what it was.
Absolutely.
It does heroic fantasy great. It was a ton of fun to play. And after like level 7, level 8, I, as the dungeon master, stopped having fun. Because now there's too many things that I have to keep track of and too much going on. And the player characters are too powerful, which means now I'm in a like the Red Queen hypothesis really kicks in. You're like, I am in an eternal arms race to try to do enough damage that anything I'm throwing at you is still dangerous. And it got way out of hand way too fast.
Oh yeah. Like even we're playing in Icewind Dale right now, and even at this point, we're getting ready to head into what is considered pretty much like the main arcs of Icewind Dale, with the Shardland Dragon, and I've already had to restat it, even though I shouldn't have to, and I'm like,
Yep.
This makes no sense.
I think the best, this is a dumb example, but like the best example that I have of it is in this campaign. They were fighting one of the major boss enemies who could shapeshift, and I had the enemy use it's like the druid's like 9th level change form spell or whatever it is, where it's like you just become the thing from the monster manual. And I had him just become an ancient red dragon in the middle of the fight after they were already like they had been fighting for 2 days trying to get to this guy in the first place.
Yeah.
Boom, ancient red dragon with max hit points just appears in the middle of the fight, completely wiped out 1 round later. I'm like,
what do we do at this point, guys?
I didn't even get to use the fire breath, guys. Like, come on.
Yeah. I mean, thankfully with legendary actions now, you finally get that ability to do that kind of stuff. But you're absolutely right. You know, one of my takeaways for that is I use Matt Colville's approach, where it's like a 3. You know, they go in phases. So like, if he hits half health, he doesn't go past half health until his phase changes.
Does the thing. Yeah.
He just does the thing. Yeah, and then rips through
definitely.
you.
In subsequent 5th edition campaigns that I've run, I definitely started using that because it's great. Absolutely great.
Well, I've been on a kick this last couple months on how to make my games easier to prepare and how to make them easier to run. And you just get to be the guinea pig for this one, because I haven't asked anybody else these questions.
I love it. Let's go.
So when you're building NPCs, main NPCs that are going to be used is either patrons or used as allies or enemies. What are some major things that you like to have prepared early before you step into that, to having it at the table?
Totally. So I like, when I am designing NPCs that I want to be either like sticking around or sticking in the player's memories, I pick, like, I'll give them a name. I'll give like 3 things they know that can be useful or detrimental to the players. And then I give them a physical characteristic and a mannerism that sets them apart.
Okay.
And so like those things give me a space to like inhabit the character. So like I think when I ran you guys through my Beneath the Iron Abbey adventure page, right? One of the NPCs that you dealt with was the evil abbot. And when I wrote the evil abbot, I was like, all right, he knows three things. He knows what's really going on under this church. He knows that he's trying to sell you guys out. And he knows that there's like some big badness down in the basement that he doesn't want you guys to touch. And I said, all right, well, I need something that's going to stick out. So I was like, I'm going to give him a weird voice and like just a screwy demeanor.
Right.
And then
it worked.
You guys you're going to know this guy. And so I did this. And it just works. And then that way, especially like for me, and like you can't really see it because my hands are down here relative to the camera, but like I always kind of like when I play that character, I hunch up my back and I curl in my hands, and like it helps me just get into the headspace of that character where like I could be doing whatever else. As soon as I do that, I'm like, oh, we're talking to this guy now. And Father Bartolomeu is gonna be a jerk. And that's just what it's gonna be.
Okay. No, those are good. Those are really good points. You know, the mannerisms, the physical trait that you can kind of point directly to, and you don't have to try to pick up a bunch of them, but at least if you have one that makes you just feel different, right?
And the other thing is, like, if you are not the kind of game master that likes doing voices, which like I like to do voices, but I do it because it's fun for me.
Right.
If you're not that type of guy, like having a actor or a character that is like from pop culture that you can attach to that NPC as like this is who I think of when I'm role playing this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a great way to get that sort of mannerism down in a way that like even if you don't want to act it out, you can be like, hey, yeah, so this dude's like you know, he's kind of like he's like Arnold Schwarzenegger in Kindergarten Cop.
Okay.
Yeah, just
and
like
most people
put that
kind
guy
of
in your
get
head.
that connection
Yeah.
to the head. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that works. And I know with those types of things, you can kind of flavor the wording of it with as they're speaking and things like that. Like they're speaking in a much more gruff accent or a gruff tone. If you can't get to that point in your vocals, yeah, that's good. For those that are new to the channel, just a heads up, you can ask questions at any time. Just drop them in the channel. Yeah, we're diving deep into GM tips and world building, things like that this year. And we've really been pushing hard for that.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. I just saw that my wife's in the chat and you have keyed off on her addiction to dice.
You're welcome.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah.
She has one of those like multi-compartment dice bags that I measure in pounds, not in sets of dice. So
James's wife, buy the dice.
Yeah, buy him dice. Canadian dice.ca.
Canadian dice.ca. Code Misfit. Misfit15.
Yeah. They have a whole set of Lord of the Rings with the ring inside the die in 5 different colors, and I'm waiting on them to send me, because apparently that's not supposed to be a thing. But I told them, I was like, I want one of every one. They're like, oh, so we'll make you like a box set. And I was like, that's fine. I'll do a box set. I'm good with this. So,
my aching wallet.
Yeah. They're actually, I will tell you though, they're actually really well priced.
I absolutely believe it.
Yeah. So there is that. What's that?
Rabbit holes.
Rabbit holes.
So anyway.
So, since we're diving down the dice rabbit hole, do you have a favorite die? Or
in terms of type of die or like
type?
Gotta be the D20.
Okay.
I love the D20. D20 and the D6 are like my 2 favorite dice because with a D20 and a D6, I can do anything.
Like it.
It's
There's
fair.
adrenaline.
It's fair.
Yeah.
I love having everyone.
Yeah. No.
I don't know.
Now, do you have
Full
a
stop.
favorite? Do you have a favorite dice set? That's the question.
Oh, I have actually not that many dice. So I recently sort of got into a more minimalist approach to my kit and how I set myself up, and so I have basically all of my dice are in this one little bag right here.
Hey,
It's 2 sets of mini polyhedrals and 5 mini d6s, and that's it. That's everything I use.
And I will say though, when you're traveling for conventions and trying to pack up, minimalism kind of starts to become a thing. When you've got a weekly game at your house or at your friend's house, buy all the dice you want.
Oh,
But when you're going to conventions, don't lug around a 3-pound dice bag unless you're going to conventions to trade. That's different. You bring what you want at that point.
Fair.
So,
I'll be right back.
Do you?
all right.
Yeah, I'm never the type to yuck somebody's yum. Like, if dice is what you love, like, have fun, man.
Absolutely.
Hoard them up.
Yeah.
I just like having as little things in my bag as physically possible.
Like I said, if my normal set of dice is usually 1 set, maybe 2 if I'm going to a convention and I know that there might be multiple different types of games. I'll always throw 6 extra D6 in a box just because D6s are always randomly used. So,
like I said, a D20 and a D6.
Yeah.
You can play almost any game.
We played in a game almost at Page called Nuked, and that was the first time I needed 8d10. And it was to shoot a blaster rifle, and it was amazing.
Hell yes!
And the game is built strictly on dice. So everything you attack with is just handfuls of dice. And to me, awesome. That was just something about it.
Is it like a dice pool system, or is it...
So the way it works, and I'm going to get this wrong because I'm not the creator. He was on just a couple weeks ago. Every die has to hit a number in order to hit. If it doesn't hit, like if let's say your threshold was a 3 and you roll anything under a 3, none of those dice that are under a 3 don't hit. Everything else hits.
Okay. So more like Warhammer, where it's like roll 100 d6s, you hit on a 4, and then roll them again, you wound on a 5.
Yeah, kind of. Okay. Yeah. So because it was like roll 10 d10s and you know you have a +3 and your threshold is 3, so technically anything over or under a 6 is like you're good. And I was like, okay, but man, I'm telling you, I'm like this. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna drop all the
shuka is satisfying.
It is very satisfying. I will definitely. It is the one time I really was shocked at the difference of how much I enjoy just rolling massive amounts of dice.
Nice.
So yeah. Chat room, if you're in there, let us know what your favorite set of dice is in the chat. It'd be great as we dive back into another question. Yeah. So we're talking about NPCs. We're talking about world building and things like that. My main focus is if I am starting out a new campaign with new players and I'm just about to run session 1, what are some things that you have found are very useful to have early in the game compared to preparing later?
Do you mean in terms of like information to have available, or like stuff that I do in that first session? Like,
probably more so the first one, where it's like what do you have available already compared to what you're preparing.
So if I'm running, I basically only run Shadowdark now.
Right.
If I'm running Shadowdark for a completely brand new group of people, which I do a lot because I do a lot of convention games, and a lot of people are like, oh, what's this? I want to try it. Like the best things to have are pre-filled out character sheets. So like I'll have pre-generated characters, and if I'm trying to like start a campaign that's going to go on further down the road, what I'll do is I'll say we're going to do pre-generated characters for the first session, and then we'll make characters for session 2, because I just want you to start playing right now. And like Shadowdark, you can make a character in like 15-20 minutes. Like it's super quick to make a character.
I made one at Gary Con in I think like 5.5. Like it was nuts. We clocked it
so fast. But I like to go even faster than that. I like to be like, here's your character sheet, write a name on the top. You are Hobnob the Barbarian. Let's go. And then the next is, all right, drop you right into a world, get you role playing.
Yeah.
Especially if it's somebody that like has never played a role-playing game before.
Mm.
The least amount of time that I can have between your butt hits the chair and we are rolling dice, that's the goal. Get you rolling dice as fast as possible. Because once, like I said, once you start clattering the dice around, that's how you get hooked. Like, that's where it starts. But as far as like world building and stuff is concerned, I like to have my first session of a campaign start out on the road somewhere. So like I usually start a campaign with like my favorite, I've probably started 4 campaigns this way, is hey, you all got rounded up at a seedy tavern in the local big city, and this caravan guard said, I need to hire 6 people to get this caravan to that town, and you guys signed up. And then we'll start somewhere on the road with your caravan being attacked by goblins or bandits or whatever, and that's what we do. And like I said, that gets you rolling right away, that gets you running right away, and then I can make a town later.
Right.
Like I have a list of like, every town needs a tavern and a blacksmith and a farrier and a whatever.
Right.
But I don't need to know any of that right now, because if my first session is we're going shopping, nobody's coming back. That's boring. Other than that, like the only like tools really are like my safety tools. So like I use the deck of player safety. Absolutely love it. I used it with you guys at Page. I use it in every game I play at home, on the road, at the local game store. Don't care. I use that deck. So between those things, like that's a first session.
I love the idea of just starting out in some sort of conflict, and the idea of being on the road immediately definitely catches the attention quickly.
Mm-hmm.
They always talk about going in the...
Yeah, like if you look back at like the best, in my opinion, one of the best like starter adventures ever published, Lost Mines of Phandelver starts with a goblin ambush on the road going to Phandalin.
Yep.
It does a fantastic job of hooking you right into, we're going to a town, this guy we wanted to find is missing, some goblins tried to kill us.
Yeah.
That's 3 quest hooks right off of that.
Yeah, between that one of my favorite ones, and I know the entire campaign is very difficult to run because there's just so many plot hooks in it. One of my favorite intros, though, is the Horde of the Dragon Queen.
Ooh.
You're sitting in the tavern, and an adult blue dragon rips through the tavern. Go.
Nice.
You're like, what? And it's being overrun by kobolds and bandits. Go. You're like,
I love it.
huh?
Yeah, like giving the players something to grab onto as, these are my enemies, these are my friends, and now I'm going to start throwing rocks. Like, ideally within the first 10-15 minutes of sitting down. I've never had that fail. That's always worked for me.
Yeah. And I mean, it definitely works wonders at a convention because you want to get players to be rolling quick so that they get engaged fast and are ready to move.
100%.
And it sets the tone immediately because then you're like, okay, this is the direction we're going. This is where we're going. Because we all know, those that have never been to a convention game, there's one direction. Like they tell you, this is the story. This is the ending. Get there. That's your job. Main job. How you get there, of course, that's the fun part. But there is an ending, right? Like you're not coming back next week and being like, so we were here, but I want to take this random route on the left. No. Go.
And like honestly, that's one of my favorite things about convention games is like it's hard if you've never done it to say, hey, you have 4 hours to bring this thing into a nice satisfying conclusion, and that includes all the time that it's going to take you to introduce yourself and explain the game you're playing. But like knowing that and then being able to say, okay, we're cutting out all of the fat in this adventure,
Right.
and we're just going to do the good stuff. And like that taught me so much about adventure design, because now I just try to design my adventures without the fat. And I say, here's an adventure with the good stuff. That's
Right.
it. Let's
That's
go.
it. That's all you got. You add the fat if you want to add the fat, but I'm not adding the
Yeah.
fat.
No. The fat's great if you want to pad things out and you're like, I've got like a bunch of friends that we're going to meet up every Friday and this is the game we're going to play. Like, great. 100%. It's
Yeah.
fun, faff about, go on shopping trips, do whatever. Me, I would rather run a tight and exciting 2.5 hour game session than have that same amount of content last for 4 hours.
He's like, nope, we're here. This is what we're doing. We're going that way. Done. I have learned though, especially in our world, because we're adults, we're not kids. We don't have like unlimited amounts of time that we can play, anyways. And it's so nice to be able to actually ask the party at the end of a session, like, hey, where do you want to go next? Like, and I can plan that out and make sure that that's a fun adventure, compared to, well, I don't know where they might go. Let me plan 17 different directions that they could go. No.
So that's actually a great thing. And like, so we were talking a little bit earlier about like, we're talking about like, how do you make running at the table easier? Like, that's probably one of the number one things. I ran a little bit over a year-long campaign of Keep on the Borderlands in Shadow Dark for a bunch of my friends. And the thing that I would do is like at the first session, I brought them a map of the caves. I said, like, not with like the actual dungeon map, like the map where it's like, this is the outside of the caves. These are all the caves. And I would say, the deal is, every session you're going to go and explore a cave. And at the end of the session, you're going to tell me what the next cave you want to go to is. And then that's the cave that I'm going to get ready for our next game. Because I'm not going to prep 15 caves every week. I'm going to prep the one you're going to.
Right.
And if you change your mind, you're a jerk and you need to tell me 2 days ahead of time.
And if you change your mind, you might still go to the same cave. You just won't know this same cave.
There's something to be said for the Quantum Ogre, and I have opinions about it, but
I do admit that it's just one of those things where it's like, some things you just have to be planned. Like, you're like, no.
Yeah.
Like, if I turn left or I turn right, we end up at the town. Like, that's just what happens.
yeah. It's
Right.
all, and especially like with a sandbox like that, where like the goal is you guys can go anywhere and do anything, but you gotta help me out.
Yeah.
Like, I can't have the entire world ready to go at the drop of a hat. I am one human with one human mind.
Right.
I can't hold that much information.
Yeah. You don't have a production team that's writing for you and with you.
Yeah.
And yeah. So I completely agree. 100%. I do what's that?
I concur.
Like,
I do what is considered like very improv based D&D when I've got like my kids, or like we're doing a home game, to the point where I make the players write half the story immediately.
Yeah,
So
you
it's
did.
like, I do 100%. He's he's
I
a guinea
experienced
pig
it
for
firsthand. You find a notebook. You open the notebook. What does it say? What? Excuse me?
I love it. I love it.
Because I mean, if this is a collaborative story and you roll high enough on an intelligence or whatnot, what does it say? Like, you're the one that wrote it. Like, you're the one that reads
absolutely.
But I didn't write it.
It's like, and I'll go all the way down to, those, what does it say? Who was it written by? And then if you want to roll a history check to figure out who that person is, then we'll figure out who that person is. But
Nice.
and anytime they fail, they lose that line stops. So it's like, I know his name or their name, I don't know who they are. I guess we'll have to find
that's
out.
awesome.
And then I just kind
I
of
love
make that
that.
note later on in the story, and then it might show up, it might not, but that's their choice that they have to figure out. So
Don't mind me. I'm just shamelessly stealing that.
go for
mine
it.
now.
100%.
This is all about sharing the ideas.
The book I used
love it.
for most of this is called The Game Master's Handbook to Proactive Roleplay.
Ooh, okay.
So, and the way that works is we've been built and structured to be reactive to a game master at all times. Run an evil game and find out how that works.
Yeah.
The best option is even at the beginning of the game, if the players have goals, run their goals in the story. So they're always proactively going towards something, and you're putting the obstacles in front of them, and that's why they're fighting so hard for it. And you're right, the NPCs that become major characters. Yeah. And I'm starting to do this with all my games. Like this goes down to all the way down to where I got asked to do a Daggerheart setup here soon, and I'm like, I've not played yet. Like, I bought the cool artwork box set because it looked cool, but I haven't had time to sit down and play it, and I'm already running 2 games, and I was like, why not? So we're going to be doing the same thing with that, and it's probably going to be built that same exact way.
Nice.
Give me a small goal, and you're going to help me write the story because I have no idea what I'm doing yet.
I love it. That's
So,
great.
so what are some, because you did have a list, what are some things that you kind of have gotten used to as being like, this is in every town?
Yeah, so every town needs, as far as I'm concerned, like I don't think I have like a numbered list of anything, but like generally speaking, you need somewhere where you can relax. So you need a tavern. You need somewhere where you can sleep. So you need an inn. You need somewhere where you can buy and repair equipment. So you need a blacksmith. You need someplace where you can refresh your expended supplies. So you need a general goods store. There needs to be somebody who's in charge of the whole thing. So you need like a mayor. And then you need somebody who is in opposition to the status quo so that there can still be adventure even if the party is like, we're going to get stuck in town for 3 sessions. And I can be like, okay, well, there's somebody in town that hates you guys and is going to go spread malicious rumors about you. And now this is a social deduction game of trying to figure that out. Because you wanted to dilly-dally, and now you have a problem.
Yeah. That's good. I like the opposition thing because I that's one thing I haven't really thought about is it's like, oh yeah, every town should still have some sort of opposition of
Yeah.
the state.
And it doesn't have to be like a big like, oh, in this town there's 2 competing factions who are about to come to blows with each other like in Romeo and Juliet. Like,
Right.
It can straight up just be like, yeah, the mayor has 2 advisors who have different opinions about his trade policy.
Right.
But those policies affect everyone from the top down in town, and so everybody has an opinion about it. And even if it's as simple as like, hey, I hate Ethelwolf and his thing about taxing us on our grapes, like there's fruitful ground there because I think I mentioned this in our little pre-show. Like I have a degree in medieval history.
Right.
Evil peasants liked to punch each other over stupid things.
For stupid things.
And like local small village politics can be a very fruitful ground for weird stuff happening.
Yeah. And then let's add magic to it on top of it, right?
Yeah. Because why not? Why not give somebody in the town the ability to burn the town down with a thought?
Like, why did this happen? Well, oops. What's your thoughts then? Because there's one thing you didn't mention I'm curious about, and that is some sort of place of worship or religious order.
So, yes. In almost every town that I have, there is a temple. And generally, the way that I will do it is I will use that as a chance to be the opposition to the party. So if I have a priest in my party who, like, in the Shadowdark parlance, like, if they're a priest of Getty, I'm gonna make that a temple of Saint Taragnus. And it's gonna be a temple of a different god, and it's gonna be a god that's maybe not like diametrically opposed to theirs, but certainly one that has competing interests and competing philosophy. In my Keep on the Borderlands, I had them. My Keep on the Borderlands game was a very religiously influenced game because I was running it in my homebrew Holy Attalosian Empire, which is my version of the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay
Oh,
universe.
nice.
And so all of the people in my party were like, yeah, no, we worship like the god of nature and the god of weird elves and stuff. And I was like, great. And you're in a town with a hostily xenophobic, humanocentric religion.
Go. Go.
What are you going to do?
Have fun.
One player got burned at the stake.
Oh,
It was
shit.
fine.
Yeah. I realized that was one of those things that's very very triggering to some people. So I have to watch that one.
Yes. And that's where those safety tools come in.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing. They didn't really know that was a triggering thing until after we had done it.
Yeah.
Because I guess you don't always,
Yeah.
burn people alive, but
Yeah.
yeah.
But that's another great thing for the safety tools is like the X card is
Right.
so helpful.
Oh yeah.
And like I try to make a point, and like you guys saw this when I ran that page, like I explained that right up front. I was like, if there is something going on in this game world that you're not okay with, the second you touch that card, I'm fast forwarding to the next scene.
Right.
Like this is just done.
Yeah. You've got two cards. You've got the one that says kind of like calm it down a little bit, and you got that whoop. What happened? I don't know. Don't worry about it.
It's slow down and next.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I love that. I think that is something that is more prominent nowadays, but is one thing
Yes.
that people are actually very well versed with and can accept in modern day gaming, which I think is absolutely fantastic.
I think in the past, like I've been running games and conventions the last like 3 years or so. I have only ever had one person give me any pushback about safety tools, and it was some random jamoke commenting anonymously on a Facebook post of a picture of my game setup. So like no person that I've ever actually played a game with has ever had problems. They've always been like, "This is great, thank you."
Yeah. Not to mention, deck and player safety made it so much easier.
It's so good.
Because if you don't really have any questions or you don't have any worries, there's always a card for you too. So and nobody knows that you picked that card. So you just here you go.
So one thing that I've incorporated as my standard operating practice, and like I very just completely randomly happened to be when I was at PAX Unplugged last winter, I happened to be next to the original designer of the deck of player safety in line for a seminar. So he and I got to chatting. It was amazing. And he sort of like awesome guy, such a nice guy. And like one thing that I do that wasn't necessarily the intention, but is something that I do and I will always do, is every player also gets a blank card.
Right.
That I give them, and I give everybody a wet erase marker, and I say, here's the deal. It doesn't matter if you don't have anything to write on this card. You have to write something on it. It can be, "Hi, Game Master, looking forward to it," but it has to be something. Because I don't want there to be any chance that anybody is like, well, there's something that I'm worried about that's not in this deck, and I have to write it down, but I don't want to be singled out because I'm the only person writing something down.
Right.
Yep, I remember that.
Yeah, I remember you saying that. Yeah,
yep.
that was a really good option too.
And I was very sad.
Like everybody put down 2 cards regardless, and you have no idea what those cards
exactly.
are.
Exactly. And like by and large, I get a lot of like everything goes and hey, how you doing cards.
Yeah.
But sometimes, like I've had convention games where like I was running my Santa Must Die Morkborg adventure at PAX Unplugged. Had a great time doing it. It contains some feral reindeer that are enemies. And one of the people that I was playing with at some point put down a card that said, "I don't like violence against animals."
Oh,
and I was going to say, cool. Like, so I'm going to take them out and replace them with some like ruffians. And it's going to be the same thing and it's going to be fine.
Right.
And I would have known that if I didn't have those tools.
Yeah.
I was very sad when I got home from Page. I unpacked my bag and I left my deck in Pennsylvania.
Oh no!
Oh, no.
So I had to go and buy 3 more. But
darn.
Yeah.
Oh no!
I'm sure Tom's happy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, those are some really good tools though, and really good tips to building a first episode. Um, for especially for like Chuck and I, we a lot of times are playing with kids. So what better way to get a kid involved than starting them in the action? And that's definitely, and don't make them roll as natural one the first time they play. That was
Yeah, James.
I'm still learning. I'm still learning children. It's a different world.
But
completely.
no, I mean, to that same end, I mean, yeah, we did that with my daughter whenever she joined our game because it was the second session we had.
Yeah.
And we were already like first thing first, we're already in combat.
Yeah.
So that kind of got her. I worked with her making her character at home, but getting her already in combat, like things are already underway. I think by the end of that first combat bit, she was finally starting to really like open up and get into it. Like really like, okay, yeah, I like this.
Yeah.
I've had kids in a couple of games that I've run. I don't run any games specifically for kids. I'd love to. It just hasn't like panned out with my schedule. But the handful of games that I've run that have had kids at them, the thing that I've always noticed is initially kids are very hesitant to jump in and like really go for it. But as soon as you break the ice by giving them something to do, they are the weirdest little evil geniuses you will ever meet, and they will come up with stuff that will send your head spinning. And it is so much fun.
Yeah. We had I run a very like relaxed mystery in the GUI Cube games when we run them at Gen Con. And the one is there's this bear in it. It's like a stuffed animal bear. And we were playing and there was I think she was maybe 12 or 13. And all of a sudden everybody's like, okay, we're just going to leave the bear alone. Then this 12 or 13-year-old girl walks over and she goes, nope, I'm going to grab it. I'm going to grab it by its head and its body and I'm going to rip it in half. And I was like, oh, okay. Like,
Yep.
Like everybody else is like, no, don't touch that bear. It's scary. It looks like it could be alive. The eyes are glistening, that kind of thing. She's like, no. I was like,
Nice.
well,
okay.
One way to do it.
There's we were mentioning Matt Colville earlier. He has a great video about this where he talks about types of players.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that he points out is that children largely tend to be these like sort of chaos gremlins when they play games because in their everyday lives they have to do what people tell them, and this is their chance to cut loose and do whatever they want and be crazy and random, and it's fun.
Yeah, we kind of used that as the catalyst for our game completely, because when me and my son played, he wrote 70% of the story before we even had to start role playing.
Right.
Because I was like, what's your story? And he goes, well, I'm running away from my island. I was like, all right, cool. Where are you heading? I'm heading somewhere else. I was like, all right. Who did you come with? He's, oh, I came with nobody. Okay. I was like, what are we running from? Well, the island is infected. I was like, wow, I've got my story written. Like,
And
leave it here.
Taking notes. What's it infected with? Oh, okay. Taking notes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what? I'm just essentially your voice in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's essentially the role I took was just
Nice.
like all right, I'll be a lore person in here.
Yeah. So he
Just
played
kind of help you along.
Right. But then he all of a sudden I'm like, well, what's your, because he's playing a monk. I was like, well, what's your order? And he's like, oh wait, I'm playing.
I had to make a whole order. I was like, oh shit, didn't think about that. So now we have this whole order. They're like, oh fuck.
Yeah. So
Nice.
we fleshed out an entire monk order of the first episode, and it was like, or the first game, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, now this ties into things, and we can utilize it, and we start to add characters to it, and now it's a fully fleshed out item in the story.
I like it.
That's awesome.
And the nice thing is though is that it gives us an opportunity for when players are interacting with it, they already have an interest in it because they were the ones that wrote it anyway, so it made it easier to continue to gather information on that. So, but I did your idea where I put an opposition there too, because now we have the order, but now we have the mayor or the governor who's also there too, and now they're having conversations. So.
Yep. That'll do it.
That'll do it. So, wow, we're almost at an hour already.
I know. Time flew by on this one.
Oh, jeez.
So at the 10 o'clock mark, what we do
Yes.
is we technically open up happy hour, which is at this point the chat room has the full autonomy to ask any questions to any of the three of us, and we will answer at the best of our abilities unless it's called off. I do have my X card that I can call, but that's besides the point, and I don't take those very often.
I haven't found my line yet.
Yeah, I'm still looking for mine every once in a while. Children is kind of my line. Like we start breaking into
That's a really common one. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like anything with child abuse or children being nope. As a dad, nope.
Yeah. I get that.
I think
I get
in my 20s I probably would have been okay with it. As soon as I became a parent, that immediately changed.
I think that's why I couldn't finish Last of Us. The first 10 minutes, I was like, no.
No.
For me, I don't like zombie media. I love zombies in my games. I hate zombie movies and TV shows. I don't know what it is.
No, it wasn't that. It was the fact that it was a guy who had a daughter. I have a daughter. They're just like that. Oh,
Yeah. Chuck became a big softie.
I did. It's all her fault.
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with it.
Nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely not.
Well, while we're waiting on questions from the audience, I've got one that I typically ask.
Yes.
It's kind
The
of
answer is no, but go ahead.
Oh, that's not.
Can't. It's open ended. Sorry,
I
bud.
don't think that's the answer for this one. So since you've been GMing for a while, what has been your highest high and your lowest low?
Oh.
That's always it.
It's always the response we get. Ooh.
All right.
Every
So my
single time.
highest high. We'll start with my lowest low. My lowest low, I ran a game for just a couple of people that I was like, hey, do you guys want to come over Friday, play a game? It'll be great. And then I was like, I'm going to see if I can run a game with nothing but a map that I've pulled off of Dyson Logos and some random tables. And that did not go well. That went very badly for me. And I learned a lot about myself as a game master that night. Because for me, if when I rolled randomly and they said, oh, we're going to go in this door, and I said, great, I'm going to roll randomly. Oh, there's a trap in this room. And I rolled on the traps table in the Shadow Dark book, and it said, it's a gas trap. And I said, great, what's the trigger? Opening a door. Shit. Because every part of my GM brain said, if you were going to have a gas trap that went off as soon as they opened the door, there needed to be some discoloration on the doorknob or some weird noxious odor as they approached it. But we're here now. They opened the door and nobody had a good time that night. That was not a good game. I did not enjoy that.
Interesting.
So that's more about like, I know now that if I'm going to run a game, I have to at least sit down for a half an hour and think about it before I start running it.
Yeah.
I can't just completely seat in my pants something.
That's when you roll the random tables.
Exactly. Roll them ahead of time. So now you know. And like, I can run a game if I have a map that each room on the map has like 2 words written in it. But I need those 2 words to have some idea of what I need to do. My highest high, though, bar none, I was running a game for a bunch of my college friends online, and I was running them through a 5e, but also kind of Shadow Dark version of Night Below, which is a AD&D adventure that is about mind flayers. And it's a great adventure. I love it so much. And like, so like these were all friends that like had been scattered to the 4 winds since college. So we were playing online, and we set it up where everybody was going to come into town, and they were going to stay at my house, and we were going to play a game in person, and it was awesome. And
so it wasn't played online. Is all your friends online, and you guys met up?
We played online multiple sessions, and then I convinced everybody to come into town for like a long weekend.
Okay.
And while we were there, we played a game.
That's awesome.
And they it was so good. Number one, just having all of my friends in one place, drinking beers and chucking dice. Cannot overstate how wonderful it is.
Yeah,
Cannot
always a
overstate.
good time.
But my wife's best friend, Aaron, played me like a fiddle. And I could not possibly have been more proud. And it was one of the most amazing experiences of my life. Because Aaron had like just played D&D for the first time in a one shot that I ran like 5 months before, like was brand new to the game, didn't really 100% know what was going on. And they were in a bandit's cave, and like the bandit leader was standing near a barrel of black powder, and they had a torch, and they're like, I'm gonna blow it up unless you guys leave and let me take these prisoners below. And Aaron's like, well, what if could I do like a gust spell or something to blow the torch out of his hand in the other direction? And I'm like, I mean, yeah, you're gonna have to roll something for it, but like, I don't know, it's gonna be really hard to do. He's standing really close to it. It's gonna be really tough. And Aaron goes, could I do it with a natural 20? And I'm like, you know what? Fine. If you hit a natural 20, I'll let you get away with anything you want to get away with because it's good. And Aaron, God bless him, goes, great, I'm a divination wizard. Here's my natural 20. I was like, you son of a bitch. I was like, that. Oh, I felt it was the greatest thing that I've ever seen happen. Absolutely played like a fiddle.
Yeah, I'm a divination wizard. Here's my natural 20.
Save that one in the back pocket, didn't they?
Oh, yeah.
Man.
Of course, then I got to hit them with like my very favorite dungeon mastering trick, which is like the next round they were like, all right, I want to cast sleep on these bandits, which like 5th edition sleep, right? You roll a handful of d6s and that's the number of hit points you can put to sleep because it has to be complicated.
Right.
And I was like, okay. Some of these guys have a lot of hit points left. That's weird. So some of these guys have a lot of hit points left. This is going to be tough. I took an index card out of my kit, and I wrote the total remaining hit points on the card. And I put it face down in the middle of the table, and I said, that is the number you need to beat. And if you don't beat that number, whoever's still awake is going to start killing hostages. Got it by 1. I got it by 1. It was such a good session.
It sounds
that
like
was so much fun.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of good moments happened.
Oh, yeah.
And the players were just fully engaged, which is the main focus,
yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's intense too. Like that'd be so much fun. He is the most he is the most wonderful
most troll. Yeah, but it sounds like the best kind of troll.
It does.
That is absolutely true. That, in case you can tell, that's my wife.
I would pick that up.
Yeah. Got it from context. Oh, that was so much fun.
Oh my. Does anybody in the chat have any questions for myself, Chuck, or James? If not, we're gonna have you pull out your D20.
My D20.
Your
D20.
D20.
Yeah, yours.
All right. Well,
Itty bitty D20.
I will actually, for this, I'm going to pull out the big honkin' D20 that sits on my shelf as an art item.
That's right.
So
never roll
weighted.
ever, and then all of a sudden you're going to hear this crash, and it's going to be like his desk or something.
Smash!
You don't have a glass desk, right? Just heads up.
Nope.
All right, let's roll.
All righty. Let's see. 16.
Okay. This is one that's come up a couple times, and it's one I've been really curious about. How do you deal with death and lethality in your at your table?
Yes. Death is on the table. Always.
Okay.
Always, always, always. I tweak the core rules of Shadowdark ever so slightly for this. Which is like, so in Shadowdark, if you hit 0 hit points, you roll a d4 timer die, and you have that number plus your Constitution modifier number of rounds until you are dead.
Right.
And if your Constitution modifier is negative, that sucks to suck. At my table, I roll that d4 behind the screen.
Ooh.
Oh.
I like doing that in my games too.
Yeah. How much time do I have left? I don't know. Doesn't look good for you though.
Oof.
Yeah, I will.
Raise the
I
tension up,
normally
man. Love it.
I normally check that at a session 0 before I do that at tables, because some people just can't handle that. They'll spaz out.
Oh yeah.
Others
I
love it.
always warn people that that's the rule that I play with, and if there's like strong objection to it, then we can have that discussion as adults.
Right.
But that's my preferred way of doing it.
Yeah.
Other than that, I personally think that for an adventure to have stakes that matter, failure has to be a present option. And that was like one of the things about 5th edition that like I really started souring on as we got into high level play, because at a certain point, like, you're just not going to fail. You're not going to fail your roll. You're not going to die. Nothing bad's going to happen. It's just a question of how many hours are we going to sit around the table rolling d6s until the bad guy's out of hit points. And so in my current gaming, I death is always on the table. Life is short, cheap, and often brutal. And you are adventurers who have gone into a hole to get treasure. It's not easy to do that.
Right.
And lots of like, if it was easy to get rich being an adventurer, everybody would do it.
Right.
But we have a village full of blacksmiths and tavern keepers and farriers and whatever who are like, nah, man. No.
If risk of life
I'll help send you away to your doom.
Yes.
No.
You have to have the risk of death.
I can understand that. Well, we still have no questions. My number is 3. So when we get to 3, then we'll close down from the show if we don't have any other questions. So let's roll one more. Let's roll another time.
All right. 13.
Well, you kind of answered this one, but we'll see. What has been your favorite mission to put players on?
Ooh. My favorite mission that I ever put my players on was the Heretic Hole. It was part of my Keep on the Borderlands adventure, where they were messing around in town for a little while, and one of them got to chit-chatting with the aging priest at the temple of this, again, incredibly xenophobic, humanocentric god. And they were like, so what do you do with people that don't agree with you? And he goes, oh, I throw them in the hole. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, yeah, I throw them in the hole. What hole? That hole. And I go in the back room, and there's a big pit in the ground, and it leads into a little dungeon under the keep on the Borderlands that he's just hucking heretics into the hole whenever they disagree with him. And the players were like, nah, we're not doing that. And they spent the next session, they rappelled down into the hole and spent 2 sessions crawling in the Heretic Hole, trying to figure out what was going on down there, and learning that, okay, no, there's actually a lot of really bad people down in the Heretic Hole. And it was good fun.
Very simple, but man, is that a perfect opportunity to be like, what is this? Well, it's the hole. You know, it's like, what? That's it.
What do you put in the hole?
All the information's in the name. It's the Heretic Hole.
The Heretic Hole. Not trying to make this complicated here, people. It's just, this is what it is. I love that. All right. So our final question for the night. One more roll.
10.
Well, this will be interesting because you are currently playing Shadowdark.
Yes.
In Shadowdark. What's your favorite spell?
Oh. I mean, Fireball. Love me some Fireball.
So what is the difference between Fireball in 5th edition and in Shadowdark?
Less dice.
Okay.
That's really it. It's just less dice. No, the nice thing about what I will say, I think my favorite spell that's in the book is Fireball because it's Fireball.
Right.
I like Fireball. I for a long time played a wizard whose only thing was casting Fireball. Because he's a wizard and that's what wizards do. But my favorite spell as a game master is anytime my player goes, so it doesn't really say this, but can I? And then I'm just like, this is going to be fun. This is going to be really fun. Because Shadowdark as a system has such a simple and frankly elegant mechanic for dealing with that, which is every spell is roll to cast. You have to succeed on a spell casting check in order to cast a spell.
Right.
So if you come up with something crazy and off the wall, yeah, you can definitely do that. You got to roll a 17 to do it.
Right.
But you can do it.
Right.
And that's when I get to put on my thinking brain and be like, okay, shit, how do I do this? How's this gonna work?
Well, he's trying to roll this. How's this gonna work out? I like that, and I didn't realize that was built into that. You know, if you wanted to enhance it and whatnot, you can do so, or create your own thing completely, as long as you have a die that a number 4.
As long as you pass the check.
As long as you pass the check.
Like the way that it works, strictly according to Hoyle in Shadowdark, is your spellcasting check is 10 plus the tier level of the spell. Spells go up to 5th tier, so the highest DC is 15, which is great. And it works wonderfully. Like the way that I look at it is the spells that are in the book are the spells that have been researched and people have studied and people have been taught in colleges and they understand how they work, and like it's your Pythagorean theorem.
Right.
If you want to do something off label, now you gotta write out a math proof, and I gotta see the work.
Now we got string theory kicking in over here.
That's what you're saying. You got to write a proof for it.
Exactly.
Yeah. And the proof is 17.
And the proof is rolling a 17.
So how many times has that backfired on you?
Almost never.
Okay.
Is the nice thing, and this is one of those things that like I will defend into my death. It is a sticker that I have on my coffee cup. To quote the Dungeon Master's Guide on page whatever, line whatever, word whatever, no. I'm the game master. I can just say no. If you're asking to do something that makes no amounts of sense or would completely wreck what we're doing, I can just say no. Oh, can I roll a 19 to just kill everybody with my mind? No. No, you can't. But if you hit that 19, you can do extra damage to one guy.
No but.
And sometimes the answer is just no, period. And that's okay. Because sometimes people want to do stupid things like, I'm going to light a torch. It's a torrential downpour. Well, I'm going to light a torch anyway. No.
How? Prove me.
One of the best.
Like, oh, you just wasted your torch.
Yeah. One of the best versions of that ever happened to me. Again, this was in Keep on the Borderlands. The players were like, we're going to do something smart. And we're going to get a bunch of oil-soaked rags and throw them into this goblin den and then huck a torch in there and try to burn them all to death. And I'm like, okay.
That's some Goblin Slayer shit right there.
That's some Goblin Slayer shit right there. That is a reasonable tactic to try. You're in a cave with limited ventilation and 1 point of egress. I'm a firefighter professionally. I know what smoke does. This isn't going well for you. So no, it does not work that way.
That's good.
Mm-mm-mm.
Well, we're going to call it on that one, and the answer is no. We're calling it
Yeah.
Sometimes the answer is no.
Sometimes the answer is no.
No, it's not.
But sometimes it is.
Sometimes it is. Well,
Got 'em.
James, it's been a blast having you
Thank
here
you,
on the
thank you.
tavern. The questions that were answered were fantastic. We didn't know you were Mr. Fire. We did. Okay. Your wife's.
Take it that was her idea.
It was someone's idea.
He's saving his skin for the evening. As always, it's always a great time to have a new guest here on the show that we can pick their brain, learn new things about game mastering, world building. I hope everybody who is here got a chance to take something from this that they can use with their own games. And for those that are going to watch this in the future, that they catch something that they can use. As always, real quick, just going to give you a moment just to give who you are, where they can find you, and anything you've got coming up here in the future, and then we'll close it out.
Yeah, totally. Again, I've been James. Lost Heretic Press is the publishing handle. It's right there. You can find all of my information at losthereticpress.com. That's got my contact form, links to all of my socials, links to purchase everything that I've ever published. And then there's going to be some cool stuff coming out on there. I'm working on getting a blog going and working on, I got 2 new adventures in the pipeline, and I'm working on some re-releases of some old stuff with some improved skills behind it. So absolutely, I'll throw that in the, I'll be cool and throw that in the chat for you.
It's probably going to flag you.
Yeah,
So
it
when
doesn't
does,
like
I'll
other people
repost
than us
it.
putting in links.
And for some reason, the guest that it didn't save once again.
Awesome.
So we're going to redo this again here.
That's all right. No worries.
There we go. That's
Sweet.
what I was looking for.
Thank you.
Tech
So
problems.
check me out there.
Episode 155.
It happens. But if I had a nickel for every tech problem I had on a daily basis, I could retire.
I would have retired like 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also a tech guy. So, like, this
Well,
it never
that seems like a
works.
personal problem.
Mm-mm-mm.
Yeah. IT by trade doesn't seem to help.
That's why
James, again. Yeah, again, really appreciate you coming on. It was a
Thank you
pleasure
for
having
having
you
me. It was
back.
great.
Pleasure being able to talk to you again.
Yep. And hopefully we'll see you at Page.
I'll be there.
And I heard mention of PAX Unplugged.
I may or may not be going to PAX Unplugged this year.
Yeah,
Haven't
either.
decided yet. If I'm going to PAX Unplugged, I'm going with the IGDN, which is a trade organization that I'm part of for independent game developers. And I'm not going to find out about that until several months from now.
Excellent.
But I will be at Arcane Con in Northampton, Massachusetts, which is a very small local game con in November. And then I'll be at Page in January.
Not doing anything in November. I have my own convention I have to run in November. So, but yeah, no, really appreciate it. Hopefully we do get to see you again at Page.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely looking to be going to Page 3. For those that have never heard of Page, Philadelphia Area Expo is one of the fastest growing tabletop conventions going right now from what we're seeing. They've doubled in size. They're looking at almost tripling in size this year. It's crazy the amount of guests and people that they bring in.
It completely supplanted PAX Unplugged on my list of favorite conventions.
Yeah,
I had so much fun last year.
No, I had so much fun. Yeah,
It was the best.
yeah. My first 3 months are literally my favorite conventions throughout the year. It seems like
Nice.
we do Page in January now. I'll do Genghis Con out in Colorado in February, and then Gary Con in March to kind of wrap it up.
Very nice.
And then talk about Chaosium in April. So they're trying to get me. I'm still holding off on that one yet. So anyway, for those that have just joined us or have been here all night, this is Tavern Talks. This is where a bunch of people sit around and drink and talk tabletop. We ask questions. You, as the audience, have the opportunity to ask questions as well. Next week is our next big guest. So keep an eye on the socials for that. That is going to be RPG in the Jungle. That is the equivalency of D&D in a castle in Peru. And we're going to have the hosts for that on the channel next week. So stay tuned on that. And Beaker, what do you got going on tomorrow?
One of two things. I'm either gonna finally suck it up and work on water decals on on the Banshee, which is terrifying, or I'm gonna do a new kit.
Awesome. So stay tuned. Keep an eye on the socials. We got new projects coming out here very soon. 2 new APs are going to be on their way out here in the next couple months, and we're going to keep rolling out as what's that?
Next couple of weeks. What are you talking about?
I mean, we're not released. Well, yours will be actually going live. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine's going to be recorded. So, yeah.
I know yours are.
Yeah, ours being recorded. So we've got Lord of the Rings coming out in the One Ring system. We also have Power Rangers coming out with our wonderful Gridmaster over here and a bunch of creators working with that, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Yep. If you want to support us, best ways to do it is to follow, subscribe, and join Discord. That's where you get all the information. If you would like to help any additional ways, you can always actually subscribe on Twitch or donate. Currently, I think our tip jar is currently down right now, though. So, but yeah, we'll get that running. And yeah. So everybody, this is last call. Raise your glasses high. This is Tavern Talks. We'll see you guys all next week. Have a good night.